Welcome to ReVlog, where Aaron is back.
How does this work? What am I supposed to do here? I'm just going to observe today.
And we're in the series Deepening Disciples. We're talking about how discipleship works in community and in relationships. And today we're thinking about family, what that could look like and shape how that works in discipleship. And so we're in Ephesians, and we're also in Matthew. And so, Aaron, what questions or thoughts or comment come to mind as you read these passages?
Well, we know all these passages. I mean, this is not some obscure text, particularly the Ephesians text. We talk about all the time about, what marriage relationships, what families are supposed to look like, and but it's the first time we were talking about this off camera, just kind of putting these texts, who are my brothers and sisters, who is my father and mother, and kind of putting these together. And I mean, if I can take a 30,000-foot view of this, it's really about ordering all of our relationships based on our relationship with Christ. And then that should inform everything else. And it does change the nature of my relationship with my spouse, my children, my colleagues. Everything should be saturated with who do I think of when I think of Christ, and how does he relate to me, and how do I relate to him? And then that should inform then everything else, and our relationships with unbelievers, with blood relatives. And and at one time he says, all of you who do the will of the Father are my relations, and that's an encouraging thought. But I think before all of that, we really need to establish who is God calling us to be with Him, and then that then will inform everything else.
Yeah, exactly. Megan, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I think we read Ephesians first and then got into Matthew, and I almost feel like this happened a few weeks ago too. It almost makes more sense when you go the other way around, because he's, just like Aaron was saying, submission is a hard word for us, right? For everybody, right? We don't like to submit to anyone. But if you submit to Christ, and then you realize my submission to anyone else on this earth is because of my submission to Christ first, right? Because I see Jesus in this other person, I'm submitting to them, right? And so when we submit to the only one who is truly worthy of our devotion, our submission, our our worship, that changes the way we, just like you were saying, the way we think about our other relationships. And so that word is hard for us, but we know that Jesus is worthy of it, right? And so, and the more you submit to Christ, and the more you submit, and that's a lifelong process of submitting your life to Christ. I think the easier it becomes to then say, okay, I can submit in these, earthly relationships too.
I read this, and it was interesting. As we serve Christ, we bring him glory. And the word that kept coming to my mind was dignity.
Yeah.
And as we serve others, how can we serve others and bring them dignity and not rob them or lead, in our families, lead to give dignity to our spouses, our families. And so that was something that I thought was interesting and maybe a neat facet of all this. What question do you have, Aaron?
Well, I think just turn it around. I mean, if I'm having trouble loving or caring or submitting or these things, then what does that say about my relationship to the Lord? That's probably a litmus test or some sort of indicator that my issues probably aren't with this person as much as my own recalcitrance or my own unwillingness to be humble or to be submitted to the Lord, and that's where I probably should start to order all things as they should be.
Yeah, Megan, what about you? What questions do you have?
Yeah, I think when I bristle at the idea of submission or just yielding to someone, that's a red flag to kind of, like what you were saying, that's a red flag to question, okay, why is that so hard for me? Or why is that troublesome? And whether that's and I feel like folks might experience this a lot at work, are you having trouble yielding to your coworkers, or, let that be a curiosity for you and say, okay, why am I having a hard time with this? where is Christ at in this relationship? And how can I submit to the Christ that I see in this person,
Yeah. So we would love to hear your thoughts and comments as we think about discipleship and how that ripples out into our relationships and especially our family. Thanks for being with us this week, and we'll look for your feedback and comments.